Hey, so what's up, y'all? Everybody that you see in this photo right here used to be a Democrat and is no longer a Democrat. Let that sink in. Now that we have that established, I want to provide you some context before we react to this video right here of Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, because you all are going to absolutely love this video, and I love exposing things like this. But I want to provide some context as to why I'm even talking about what we're going to be talking about in this video. Last night, really big night for the UFC, a lot of big fights, including John Bone Jones. Incredible night of fights, right? And President-elect Donald Trump and his new administration, including Elon Musk, RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, pretty much shut the entire arena down, right? There was a lot of America chants, USA chants last night. A lot of people, Donald Trump taking up a lot of attention. I go over to a friend's house, which is, let's just say his name is Frank. I went over to him and his girlfriend's house. We're hanging out, we're watching the game. And I've never, just for context, he and I have a lot of intellectual conversations, but we've never talked politics before, ironically enough. So we're sitting there watching the fight. And again, Donald Trump is taking up a lot of attention from the cameraman, from the fighters, from the commentators. Everybody's talking about and looking at Donald Trump, right? Which shouldn't be very surprising. Well, we're sitting up there watching the fight, and one of the fighters on the fight card, my friend starts to tell me a little bit about this guy inside and outside the ring, outside the octagon. And he said that this white fighter at some point in his life adopted two, I believe, foreign black children, maybe from Africa somewhere. And him and his girlfriend, my friend and his girlfriend, are sitting here on the couch, and they proceed to tell me that Donald Trump's daughter actually was interviewed after one of the UFC events, and said on camera that she didn't support this white fighter adopting these two black children, and called him a scum of the earth for doing so. And I said, "Oh, word." I said, what reason did she not support this decision? I would think that was a great thing to do to adopt these two children who don't have parents that are allowed to take care of them. And it was like, because I was like, was it because they're black children? And he was like, yeah, like she just wasn't for it. Like she was super racist. And I said, oh, okay. How do you know that exactly? Did she say it? And he was like, yeah, she just flat out said she don't believe in adopting black children. I was like, listen, I've never heard of this day in my life, but I just went out on a limb and just told him to his face. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that, bro. I could have been wrong, of course, but I just didn't believe that. And I go, as a matter of fact, do you think you can show? And before I can even get the sentence out of my mouth, he goes, oh, you can't find it. They scraped it from the internet. And I go, what? Him and his girlfriend was like in synchronous, like they were in sync when they said it. They both said at the same time, oh, you won't be able to find it. And I was like, oh, really? And then they go, yeah, because we've already looked for it. Like, we watched the fight live. We both heard it with our own ears. I'm like, oh, that's really weird. But I just don't believe that she would say something like that. Because you got to think, even if these people are really racist, if you want me to believe that Donald Trump and his family is really racist, they're also very smart, and they know not to say these things on camera. You know what I mean? And if they said something like this, it would have made major news. So we continue to watch the fight. We get 20, 30 minutes later into the fight, and other fighters are fighting. And, once again, Donald Trump is getting a lot of attention. And at some point, my friend, Frank, references Tim Walz, who wasn't there in person. But he goes, man, I just want to say, but I was so excited for Tim Walz, excited for his opportunity to be vice president of this country. Like, it would have been a great opportunity for the country. And I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, man, I was really rooting for him. He's done a lot of stuff for the people, and he's really for the people. I said, that's dope. I said, but he also believes that men can be women. And he goes, my friend here, highly intelligent dude. He sat there. He didn't make eye contact with me. He continued to look at the TV, and I was like, yeah. So he believes that men can be women, when we all know that that's not true. And he didn't say anything right away. And then he was like, well, it depends on who you're talking to. And I was like, do what? And he was like, yeah, it depends on who you're talking to. I was like, Frank, what do you mean, bro? Men can't be women under any circumstances. It doesn't matter the context. He was like, well, what do you say about people that are intersex? And I was like, bro, we're not going to play those games. First of all, people that are intersex is a very small, minute percentage of the population. And they're also not both men and women. They're not both male and female, right? What is their reflection of their chromosomes? Yes, they have a genetic disorder, but that doesn't mean that they're both sexes, bro. And we both know that. I was like, but that's not even what the grand total of what most people who identify as the opposite gender or the opposite sex is. They're just biological men claiming to be women, or biological women claiming to be men. And we know that's not true. He was like, well, it also depends on if you're religious. And I was like, what are you talking about, bro? No, it doesn't. I was like, let's say you don't believe in God at all. Basic Biology 101 still says that that's false. Would you agree with that? He was like, no. Again, it depends on who you're talking to. And I'm looking at this as a highly intelligent dude. I'm looking at him like, what are you saying right now, bro? I never knew you. I'm like, what are we doing here, Frank? And his real name isn't Frank, but I'm like, what are we doing here, Frank? Are we really about to play this game, bro? He's like, I'm just saying, bro. It just depends on who you're talking to and what your calculations are. And I'm like, based on who? He was like, based on me. I was like, say more. What does that mean? Anyways, I digress. We get into this heated back and forth, and I went ahead and cut the conversation short because it's conversations like this that end friendships. And I'm like, I just lost some respect in that, not a lot of respect, but I lost some respect seeing how he was willing to be disingenuous and have this cognitive dissonance despite being this highly intellectual person. Nonetheless, this showed me that some people in this world, you just will not be able to convince to vote on the other side because they're already highly intelligent. It's not like the intellect isn't there, but they're choosing to not vote a particular way based on empathy or sympathy for other people. You're going to deny basic biology and basic logic and play this fairy tale game and pretend like you're not playing a fairy tale game just so that you can be more inclusive. I just don't. It reminds me of what Malcolm X said. White liberals can be some of the most dangerous people that you have to look out for.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you.
Because they'll pretend or they really think that they're for something. I don't know. It's just crazy to me. Here we are. We have Sink Uyghur. I want you all to take a listen. He is going to be asked, Trump is a fascist. You hear this all the time. Fascism, fascism, fascism. And this is an incredible example of the conversation I had last night with my friend Frank. They're going to have the same type of conversation with Sink. Let's take a listen to how this goes.
The Republicans, Nazis. But when you say the word fascist, as you say, the meaning of that word has been eroded. That's where most people's minds is going to go, right?
So what do you guys tell me, what should I call his obvious dictatorial tendencies? And his obvious over-the-top racism?
You know what? Actually, this is a really great question, because what I'd love for you to do is, and this is a genuine question, I'm not trying to catch you out or anything like that. I genuinely am interested. I have heard a lot of rhetoric from people about Donald Trump and the concerns that they have about the next 4 years. And, you know, people use words like fascist, dictatorial,
right,
etc. What do you fear over the next 4 years he is going to do that makes you say in the present moment that he's dictatorial, fascist? What is he going to do you think?
Yeah. So, again...
Very well put. I want you all to take a listen how Sink never answers the actual question.
I don't know that he's going to do it because there's countervailing forces.
What do you fear?
And I think the countervailing forces are super interesting, and we should talk about that.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see which way the right wing goes in this country under Trump. But the worst case scenario is he gets frazzled and feels challenged, and he falls back on what he always does, which is just protect his ego. And so he starts pilfering, and that's very much in his nature. Grab, take, because now there's no accountability. What are you going to do? Impeach him? What are you going to do? Arrest him? No accountability. There's no brakes in the car. So we're all at his mercy.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is important for clarity. What do you mean by pilfering? He's going to be pilfering and pilfering.
Okay, so easy examples, but there's a million of these. He puts Jared Kushner in charge of the Middle East last time around, and Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner at some point goes to Saudi Arabia, talks to Mohammed bin Salman, and right afterwards, Mohammed bin Salman arrests a whole bunch of people. Okay, I don't want to get too much into what happened in that meeting and what the results were, but whatever it was, Mohammed bin Salman was super pleased because right after the election, he gives Jared Kushner $2 billion to manage, but he gets 2 and 20 on that. So if you know private equity and how that works, what that means is he's going to make hundreds of millions of dollars.
So what we've heard so far is probably corruption at the most, which typically happens in politics. Doesn't justify it, and I don't support it if that's what Donald Trump has done. I don't support anyone who does that. But I'm hearing corruption. We have yet to hear him explain any fascist actions or ideas that Donald Trump is going to implement or follow through with within his presidency that Sink is afraid of? He's yet to answer that question.
So if Hunter Biden got a $2 billion deal from the Saudis after Joe Biden left office, I was like, Hunter Biden's not a Ukrainian gas expert. That's nuts.
Okay,
and that was $5 million.
So your fear number one is that his family will benefit financially from
him.
his president,
Yeah.
and him will benefit financially. What
and
else?
his donors, most
his
of all
and
his
his
donors.
And his donors.
What else?
Okay, so that's, but to be fair to Trump, like part of the reason the establishment hates him is because he's systemically and personally corrupt, whereas they're just largely systemically
Look,
corrupt.
I'm accepting
right?
all this for the sake of argument without
Yeah,
challenging,
and-
because I just want you to get to like the real fascism that
Right,
he's going to do that you worry
So the
about.
reason I'm saying that is because since most of the politicians are systemically corrupt anyway, that's not the fascism
That's
I'm
my
referring
point.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So where's the
okay.
fascism?
So
Where's the fascism?
he says, I'm going to deport all the undocumented immigrants. So some people might say, yeah, good. Rip them out of their homes, 13, 15 million people, whatever it is. Oh, they're running a diner. They're beloved in their neighborhood. They married an American citizen. Whatever they did, I don't care. And their kids are American citizens. Rip them away from their babies and send them the goddamn back home.
Wait, so I want to make sure I understand. Their first act coming into this country was quite literally breaking the law, and they were here. They're undocumented, which is a very nice way of saying they're illegal. They're illegally here. They broke the law, bro. Who cares that they broke the law? But now that they're here and they're doing well and they're not bothering anybody, you should just look the other way? No, that's not how you run a country. That's not how you would run your house. If someone broke into your house, Sink, went upstairs, closed themselves off into an extra bedroom, and behaved themselves, would you just turn the other cheek? Pretend that they're not there? Continue to live life normal? No, you would not. You would call the police and still want them removed, whether they're a good person or not. Being a criminal doesn't make you a bad person, but you're still a criminal. You broke the law. What are you talking about here? How is that fascist? By following the Constitution.
Now, that's a debatable point as to whether that's fascism. My guess is that if he starts doing it, and you start seeing people ripped out of their homes, that people are going to go, oh, that don't look good.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah. Well, okay, we're going to find out. He might not. We're going to find out.
But if
okay?
he was to, let's say, I think the more likely scenario, I don't know if you agree with Jeng, but I think it's possible that this is the more likely scenario, is he deports all the people who've committed a crime in this country, who are illegal immigrants, right? People not only came here illegally, but have committed a crime, and people who don't have American family and don't have dependents here. Let's say he was to deport all those people. Would that be fascism in your view?
I don't even know if he deported all the undocumented immigrants, it would be fascism. I'm not even stipulating
okay,
to that.
so let's get to the fascism, though, because this is what I want to get to, right?
And by the way, people who committed crimes should obviously be deported.
Right.
No
Yeah,
one
we agree.
disagrees with
Correct.
that. So then the thing that I'm concerned about is both him and the potential attorney general saying, if you're on a campus and you're protesting Trump, you're protesting Israel, you're protesting the oil companies, you're protesting something we don't like, arrest and deport you. Wait, what happened to cancel culture? I mean, arresting someone for protesting or voicing their speech is the most both cancel culture you could do. I mean, you're taking the guy's freedom away, right?
Yeah, agreed. But
deporting people that are American citizens, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, you can't do that. But did he do any of that in his first term?
So he didn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, but so and that's why I say, guys, when he's running, he threatens to do total complete shutdown of Muslims. Yeah. He threatens to arrest and deport people, etc. But he didn't necessarily do it. So for example, they said lock her up, and then he got into office and he said, no, I'm not locking Hillary Clinton up. So I have an open mind. But when he threatens, when he threatens those type of things, I go, I am deeply, deeply concerned. Now here's other things.
Okay.
So they had a 3-hour meeting after he lost the election, where Michael Flynn and I believe Sidney Powell, don't quote me on that, I don't want to get sued, okay, but definitely Michael Flynn said, let's use martial law. Let's roll out the tanks, okay? And we won this election, and we're going to correct the fraud, and let's go grab the actual ballot machines, okay? And Trump was like, okay, now I'm listening. Now we're having a conversation. And that's why it lasted 3 hours.
So
At the end, hold on.
No, hold on. You're talking about something that already happened. I'm asking you about the future. Let's just stick with that.
No, but that's totally relevant.
No, well, I'm sure, which is why I'm asking you the question to follow up. So do you fear that at the end of this 4-year period, he's not going to relinquish power. Is that what you're saying?
So since he didn't relinquish power last time, yes.
Well, ultimately he did, but you fear...
Oh, come on, guys.
Fine, let's accept that for the sake of argument again. So you fear that at the end of this 4-year period, when he can no longer run for election again, you fear that he will not hand over the presidency.
A guy who said, let's terminate the Constitution, considered martial law, and had a fake elector plot to steal an election, might he try to stay in power? Of course, he tried to do it once.
Well, that's good.
That's his strongest argument. We've been in this interview, 4 or 5 minutes, and he's yet to have named anything that's fascist that, from a credible reason or credible source, that he believes Donald Trump is going to do. He's talking about everything but fascism. In fact, he's proven himself wrong the more and more he talks. But let me just say, if you're new to the show, please know we're thirsty to grow and to drink some of this water. But don't worry, I'm going to give you a sec to do that, to hit that like button, to help me out. Appreciate you. But I just want to say this is his strongest argument, because Trump did make a post on Truth Social, whatever it is, talking about wanting to get rid of the Constitution. I do not support that. I do not support that rhetoric. Trump also has said a lot of reckless things about things he wanted to do to people, and even said he wants to be dictator. And I think he said that tongue-in-cheek. But I do agree that you shouldn't be saying things like that in the position that he's in, right? Because people are going to take that as super literal, and I don't support it. But even this argument is still a straw man argument. It's just not, like, you need something better than this, bro. The fact that this man, by the way, is a great interviewer. This is how I imagine I talk to people that don't make sense and just say things and try to pander to people and say these super shock-worthy words that get people all up in the uproar. But when you actually listen to what the content or the substance of what they're saying, it's a whole bunch of nothing.
So we got to. So you fear that at the end of this 4-year period, he will not vacate the White House.
That is one of my concerns, absolutely, and that alone is a deal breaker.
Well, it'd be a deal breaker for anyone, left and right, no question.
Except it wasn't, because he already tried to do it, and the right was like, no big deal, no big deal.
I don't think that's
it was a giant deal.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite true. But anyway, that's your big concern.
So that's number one. Number two is, the reason I was telling you about martial law is because he's also said, let's use the military to shoot the protesters in the legs, let's use the National Guard to arrest citizens, etc. When you're talking about arresting or shooting U.S. citizens, and you using the military to do that because you don't like their protests, and you could be livid about their protests, it doesn't matter.
Sure, it's
we have a right to protest.
Of course.
And when he says that, and he has definitively said that and said it on the record, if you go and do that, now that there are no brakes in the car, and there is no General Milley, and there is no General Kelly, and they're not going to be able to stop him, if he does that, do you guys agree that would be fascism?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
So your great concerns are to replay it for people, and then I'll hand over to Francis. Number one, at the end of the 4-year term that he currently has, he's not going to hand over the presidency, number one. And number two, he is going to be deeply un-American about the way he handles free speech and the right to protest and the right to free assembly. In other words, he will take protesters and strip them of citizenship. He will have the army shoot them. He will imprison people for turning up on a college campus and burning an American flag, let's say. Those are your two main kind of this is the fascism that might happen. Have I got you right?
That's right.
It's funny that he say that, because when you look at the left, when you look at the way in which they've done things and censored things all across social media, certain words you can't say, there's certain things you're not allowed to say on college campuses, it's quite literally unconstitutional what the left has been doing. And this is coming from somebody who, for the most part, has been over here with a lot of people who are on the left. This is why a lot of people have left the left, why a lot of people are no longer Democrats, or why a lot of people voted Republican for the first time in their life, and even has went as far to become a Trump supporter, because of foolishness and the hypocrisy and the inability to be able to articulate how somebody's racist or fascist or a bigot, instead of just using the words to get people in an uproar. You've lost a lot of integrity. You've lost a lot of credibility, because people see that you have a lack of integrity and you're not honest. And at this point, I question people's motives. Hop in the comment section to give me your thoughts. I'm Demetrius. I go by Didi. Until next time. Peace. Oh, yeah. Didi got a podcast.